Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Viewers of The Bold and the Beautiful are still in awe about what happened at Haysart School. 3 victims were fighting for their lives in the hospital operating rooms following a violent altercation between Luna Nuh, Sheila Carter, and Liam Spencer. Bridget Forrester, Grace Buckingham, and Lee Finnegan put up a lot of effort to save the people who had been shot. Despite all the odds, Luna's surgery went well, and her life was in the balance. Lee Finnegan said she would not allow Luna to die under her care, displaying both her medical knowledge and her nuanced feelings for her disturbed niece. Despite a large blood loss, Luna's health was stabilized when the expert surgeon found and removed the bullet from her abdomen. But Luna would need life support and special care to recover, which would make her vulnerable and reliant on artificial ventilation. Steffy's well-considered choice. While the hospital team applauded their successful efforts to save Luna's life in the quiet hours after the surgery, Steffy Forrester was preoccupied with thoughts of justice and retaliation. Now the lady who had traumatized her family, abducted her and imprisoned her in a cage, and tried to control her husband, Finn, was resting quietly in the intensive care unit. Steffy was aware of the Ernie. The same individual who had attempted to ruin her life was now totally defenseless and reliant on machines for breathing. Steffy was intimately acquainted with Luna's violent past. In addition to the recent shooting, Luna had drugged Steffy, kept her in a cage inside a building that was going to be demolished, and ruthlessly planned several killings to further her perverse objectives. Steffy and her family had endured severe psychological trauma, and she was troubled by the possibility that Luna might one day recover and become a menace once more. The reckoning moment. Steffy made her unfortunate choice on a calm evening when the hospital was short-staffed and the intensive care unit was briefly unattended. She knew precisely when she could go unnoticed because she had seen the hospital's procedures and security measures during her numerous trips to see how Liam was doing. She was aware of the moral difficulty of her decision. She realized that what she was thinking about went beyond all possible moral and legal bounds. Steffy's persona had consistently been presented as fiercely, and perhaps excessively, protecting her family. She had a history of using violence when she felt threatened or cornered, notably when she stabbed someone she thought was Sheila Carter, and when she was involved in the death of A. Forers. This pattern of behavior implied that Steffy was able to make ethically dubious yet decisive decisions in dire situations. Sneaking into Luna's chamber like someone who had meticulously planned every move. Then Steffy went to the ventilator. Each breath that kept Luna alive was marked by the machine's rhythmic tones, which filled the room. Steffy stopped for a second, maybe because of the seriousness of what she was going to do. But in the end, her reluctance was overcome by the recollections of her trauma and her anxiety about the safety of her family in the future. The action and its direct repercussions. Steffy disconnected Luna's ventilator with clinical precision. Steffy had estimated that she would have a few minutes before medical personnel responded, but the monitors started to warn right away. She observed as Luna's breathing became difficult without the aid of a machine, and her vital signs started to decline. Now the young lady who had wreaked such havoc and suffering was now having to deal with the fallout from her deeds. Although it took time, Luna's death was unavoidable. She could not last long without life support due to her debilitated state from the surgery and her reliance on the ventilator. Steffy experienced a range of feelings when the monitors flatlined, including relief, guilt, and a somber sense of pleasure that the threat to her family had been permanently eliminated. The inquiry progresses. At first, it seemed that Luna's death was an unfortunate side effect of her surgery. But the truth would eventually come to light thanks to the hospital's security systems and Dad Finnegan's suspicious findings. Having been closely involved in Luna's care and being aware of her medical condition, Finn soon recognized that her death did not fit with her expected course of recovery. Luna should have been stable enough to be on the ventilator for the foreseeable future, according to his medical knowledge. Deputy Chief Baker's inquiry started to find discrepancies in witness statements and security footage from the hospital. Given the timing of Luna's death and the fact that her ventilator had been purposefully turned off, murder was evident. Given Luna's broad list of opponents, the list of suspects was originally lengthy, but the investigation would eventually concentrate on individuals who had both opportunity and motive. Steffy's demise. Steffy's well-crafted alibi started to fall apart as the investigation grew more intense. She was a prime suspect because of her history of confrontation with Luna and the fact that she was in the hospital throughout the crucial period. Steffy's established character qualities and her recorded history of using violence when threatened matched the psychological profile of someone who could carry out such a planned act of retaliation. Although circumstantial, the evidence against Steffy was strong. Her behavior in the days after Luna's death revealed evidence of someone bearing the burden of a guilty conscience, and security footage throughout the relevant period showed her close to the intensive care unit. As Finn tried to come to terms with the fact that the woman he loved might have killed his daughter, their relationship deteriorated. The plot delves into the difficult moral space that lies between justice and vigilant behavior. Steffy's choice to enforce the law herself went against a basic ethical principle, even if Luna's acts were horrible and her potential for future violence was real. The show's examination of this issue speaks to larger social concerns about justice, retaliation, and the situations that might motivate regular people to do extraordinary things. Given her trauma and her protective tendencies toward her family, Steffy's actions make sense, if not justify them. Notwithstanding the seeming legitimacy of the cause, the legal system is based on the idea that social rules cannot take precedence over individual justice. Steffy's investigation and eventual prosecution would serve as a reminder that murder cannot be justified by even the most altruistic of reasons. The consequences and their effects. The entire ensemble of characters would be rocked by the discovery that Steffy had killed Luna. Finn would have to deal with the unavoidable situation of losing both his wife and daughter. The scandal would tear the Forrester family apart as they struggled with the moral ambiguity of Luna's passing. Ridge and Taylor were compelled to face the truth about their daughter's behavior. The plot would also look at how Steffy's decision would affect her children more broadly and her job as a mother. How can a person who has taken a life still be a parent and provide their kids moral guidance? Since Steffy would have to live with the knowledge that she had crossed a line from which she could never return, the psychological toll on her would be severe. We will next delve deeply into the startling complexities of Luna No's destructive deeds on the bold and the beautiful. As we examine the pandemonium of a shooting spree that has left fans in shock, fasten your seatbelt. Questions are circulating regarding if this is possible for one of the show's most adored characters, Liam Spencer, whose life is in a precarious situation. We'll examine every facet of this incredible plot, from family conflict to tragic health issues, offering new insights and fascinating information to create a clear picture of what's taking place on the CBS soap opera. Let's begin with the sensational incidents that have everyone talking. The startling Luna Nozawa outburst. The storm that had been building around Luna No eventually blew up into a full-fledged disaster this week on The Bold and the Beautiful. Fans had been speculating about Luna's dark side for weeks, believing that her insane conduct was a sign of impending disaster. However, nobody could have foreseen the extent of the devastation she would do. In an episode that left viewers gripping their seats in terror, Luna, who is now known as a serial killer with a terrifying disdain for life, became the focus. In addition to shattering lies, her actions have ripped the trust between the Forrester and Spencer families, leaving a path of treachery and violence that might never be repaired. In a heartbreaking scene from the most recent episode, Luna's anger was directed at her own family members. Her grandmother, Sheila Carter, a divisive figure in her own way, was forced to lip down Luna's rifle barrel. After evading danger many times, Sheila was taken by surprise when a bullet penetrated her foot, leaving her writhing in agony on the Forrester mansion's floor. As Luna's eyes gleamed with icy resolve, the family home, typically the scene of intense disputes or impassioned reconciliations, became a battlefield. As others rushed for safety, witnesses described the scene as dreamlike, with Sheila's cries resonating through the elaborate halls. However, Luna's outburst continued. She turned to look at Liam Spencer, a guy already struggling with a crippling illness. Luna squeezed the trigger, sending Liam crashing to the ground with a potentially deadly wound, and the room was suddenly filled with a loud sound of gunfire. When Liam fired back in a last-ditch attempt to protect himself, hitting Luna in the chest, the tragedy worsened. Fans were left in excruciating suspense when the two fell almost simultaneously, their fates unknown as the screen went blank. This was more than just a personality conflict. Both protagonists fought for their lives in a moment that will go down in history as a horrific clash of desperation and sorrow. A race for survival, a race against time. The battle for survival is far from done, according to B&B spoilers, as the dust settles on this violent scene. Along with a group of paramedics, two of Los Angeles' most talented medical professionals, Dr. John Finnegan and Bridget Forrester, raced to the site. In a desperate battle against time, they set out to save not one, not two, but 3 gunshot victims. After receiving medical care, Sheila Carter is said to be stable despite her serious injuries. Despite this kind of emotional violation, her tenacity is evident. While recuperating in her private room, hospital staff saw that Sheila, ever the survivor, was already demanding explanations for her granddaughter's intentions. But there is still uncertainty around Liam and Luna's prognosis. Doctors are working nonstop to stabilize Liam, who is already debilitated from his prolonged fight with a malignant tumor. An already terrible condition was made worse by the bullet striking perilously close to vital organs, according to sources close to the set. Luna, meantime, is critically ill after suffering a serious chest wound. Machines at her bedside beep menacingly, her life hanging in the balance. Hospital nurses murmured at the eerie quiet in Luna's room, which contrasted sharply with the raging mayhem she had unleashed hours earlier. Are we getting ready to bid farewell to Onir and Bridget, 2 crucial characters, or can Finn and Bridget perform a miracle? The terrible journey of Liam Spencer. Liam Spencer's storyline has an emotional weight that has been pulling at B and B fans' hearts for months, even beyond the immediate drama of the shooting. Liam's heartbreaking diagnosis of an aggressive form of cancer earlier this year was a plot twist that reflected the difficulties that many fans faced in real life. Actor Scott Clifton's future on the program has been the subject of rumors ever since, with some thinking that his health issue may be a precursor to his exit. Fans are left to sift through cryptic social media posts and behind-the-scenes rumors in search of hints, as neither CBS nor Clifton have directly addressed these allegations. His lack of response on social media has only made fans more curious about if this cherished character's time is really running out. Liam has responded to his sickness in a way that is both inspirational and tragic. After seeing his own mother suffer from the physically and psychologically taxing after effects of chemotherapy, Scott bravely chose not to pursue severe treatment. He decided to put more emphasis on quality of life instead, using his remaining time to ensure his children's future and create memories with them. He has been spotted writing heartfelt letters to his children that are full of love and life lessons in moving occasions, while leaving them in the care of close friends like Finn and Carter Walton. He even planned a small farewell party at a peaceful beach location where the sunset appeared to represent the end of his chapter. Many people view Liam as a sad hero because of these emotional moments that highlight his strength despite his body's deterioration. A terrible loss or a perverted act of mercy. In a strange and macabre turn of events, some fans are starting to question whether Luna's horrifying deeds may have unintentionally saved Liam from a more agonizing and drawn-out end. Liam's death from his gunshot wound might be viewed as a speedier death than the protracted agony of terminal disease. Though it's a somber idea, it brings up difficult issues of mercy and fate in the B and B universe. Could Luna have unwittingly given Liam a kind of release in her insane state? Or is this just one more tragic element in an already depressing plot? Social media users are divided between silent reflection on Liam's situation and indignation about Luna's assault. A fresh level of conjecture over Liam's influence, even after a possible departure, heightens the interest. Before the incident, Liam reportedly produced a number of video messages for his family to show on important occasions like graduations and birthdays. Long after Liam is gone, his presence may continue to haunt and heal his loved ones through these invisible tapes, which are currently in the possession of a close confidant. Although this theory is unverified, ensures that his legacy will live on in the hearts of both characters and fans by giving his story a melancholy depth. For the bold and the beautiful, what comes next? There are many unanswered questions as we wait for the upcoming episodes. So is this really for Liam Spencer, played by Scott Clifton? The authors of B&B had the audacity to kill off a character that has been a mainstay of romance and drama for more than 10 years. Liam's transition from his complicated romantic relationships to his role as a loving parent has solidified his legacy in soap opera history, which makes his possible departure all the more heartbreaking. Luna's future is also still up in the air. Will she be held accountable for her misdeeds if she survives her injuries? Or will her mental state serve as a new focal point for either more darkness or redemption? The ripple effect is another factor to take into account. How will Bill Spencer, who has already suffered innumerable losses, and the rest of the Spencer family handle this trauma? According to insiders, if Liam fails, Bill may become more combative with Luna, which may start a conflict that takes over plots for months. How is Shayla Carter doing? Although not deadly, her wounds might change how she interacts with other characters, and possibly even soften her infamously sharp edges as she deals with her granddaughter's betrayal. There is no doubt that the aftermath of this shooting will test allegiances, redefine relationships, and keep spectators riveted to their TVs. We will then reveal the stunning fallout from the Beach House massacre on The Bold and the Beautiful, where friendships were put to the test, lives were irrevocably altered, and a startling turn of events is imminent. We're going to get into the commotion that led to Liam Spencer, Luna Noah, and Shayla Carter being taken to the hospital. Fresh information, creative twists, and a thorough examination of each dramatic scene will create a vivid picture of this unique plotline, while a possible redemption arc for one of the show's most infamous villains takes center stage. As we ruminate on whether the Forrester and Spencer families could experience the impossible, get ready for surprises. Let's go right into this exciting story. A seaside house that was transformed into a battleground. In the most recent episode of The Bold and the Beautiful, the tranquil beach house, once a place for private family get-togethers and peaceful getaways, was turned into a terrifying scene of violence. After a heated argument turned into a full-fledged crisis, Sheila Carter, Luna Noah, and Liam Spencer were rushed to the hospital in ambulances, battling for their lives. The blood stains on the sandy floors, which were typically covered in footprints from carefree times, served as a somber reminder of the horror that Luna had unleashed. The screams and gunfire that rocked the coastal refuge were accompanied by a terrible soundtrack from the pounding waves outside, which witnesses described as stifling the atmosphere. Fans dubbed the character Luna the Lunatic. This was not a singular occurrence. The close-knit society of Los Angeles elite has been rocked by the earthquake incident. Steffy Forrester, who was surrounded and helpless against Luna's insane rage, was at the center of the mayhem. Steffy's life flashed before her eyes, a gun aimed at her. She must have been thinking of her husband, Finn, and kids. Until an unanticipated savior rushed through the door, all appeared lost. Of all persons, Sheila Carter is well known for her cunning and destructive past. Sheila begged her granddaughter to put down the gun, shocking everyone. She tried to reason with Luna, putting herself in direct danger, and her normally menacing voice quiver with despair. Wide-eyed and stunned, Steffy found it hard to believe that her old enemy Shiloh now putting herself in danger to keep her safe. Nobody anticipated this bizarre turn of events, which paved the way for an illogical collaboration. The startling sacrifice made by Sheila. When Sheila's attempts to disarm Luna took a terrible turn, the drama reached unthinkable heights. Sheila boldly grabbed for the pistol in a scuffle that seemed to go on in slow motion, but was hit by a loud shot. She fell in anguish as the bullet tore through her foot, probably taking another of her notorious toes. Blood tugged beneath her, but Sheila's determination remained unwavering. She was just worried about protecting Steffy from Luna's anger. Steffy was still in shock and was kneeling next to Sheila, pressing desperately at the wound and yelling for assistance. Someone would have been laughed out of the room if they had predicted earlier that day that Steffy would be caring for Sheila Carter with real concern. But here they were, caught in a strange turn of events that completely upended their dynamic. Sheila's bravery during the ordeal wasn't limited to this. She deftly tipped down a basket of pencils from a neighboring desk as the situation deteriorated, providing a brief diversion that allowed Liam Spencer to remove the revolver from Luna's grasp. Amid the confusion, the sound of pencils clattering over the hardwood floor was minor but crucial. A quick thinking move that probably saved more lives. Sheila put Steffy's safety ahead of her own granddaughter's, even though she was aware that her actions could result in Luna being shot or even murdered. Witnesses later pointed out that this altruistic decision appeared to be the result of a deep, almost primordial desire to atone for previous transgressions, portraying Shiloh in a way that few believed was feasible. Her choice to take a side in this lethal standoff was obvious, yet no one anticipated it. Steffy is unlikely to support for Sheila. Naturally, Finn suspected Shiloh was the mastermind behind the violence when he arrived at the beach house, gasping for air. His mistrust was stoked right away by his past with his biological mother, which was characterized by treachery and near-death experiences. Still rattled by the experience, however, Steffy promptly corrected the record. He was astounded by the determination with which she defended Sheila in her voice, which was firm despite the trauma. She described how Sheila put herself in risk, taking a bullet and using a crucial diversion to keep herself safe. The scene was strange. In that instant, Steffy, who had every reason to hate Sheila, became her unanticipated ally. The weight of a newly discovered, grudging respect was in her words. This change wasn't merely a quick response to the pressure. Steffy's support for Sheila suggested a deeper issue, a break in the wall of hostility that had kept them apart for so long. As Steffy talked, onlookers at the incident observed the fire in her eyes. A mixture of appreciation and perplexity, as though she were reconsidering all she believed to be true about Sheila. Could their relationship undergo a tectonic upheaval as a result of this? There is a lot of conjecture among fans that Steffy is struggling with a moral quandary. Do you make amends with someone who attempted to ruin your life, but ultimately saved it at a high personal cost? As the plot develops, this question is sure to remain. Sheila's argument for salvation. Sheila Carter's behavior at the beach house is just the most recent in a string of acts that cast doubt on her reputation as a villain. According to the NB spoilers, her frantic efforts to alert Steffy and Finn to Luna's risky behavior weren't in vain. Sheila flooded their phones with desperate calls and texts in the days leading up to the tragedy. Her communications were full with urgent requests to remain alert. Originally written off as manipulative PS, these cautions now serve as proof of her sincere concern. When you combine that with her valiant act of saving Kelly's life during a near-fatal incident at the beach months earlier, Emrys Sheila appears intent on changing her story. One act of kindness at a time. Moreover, Sheila has shown restraint that few thought she possessed in respecting Finn's boundaries. Even though her instinct would have told her to push, she has complied with his wish to avoid contact with his family. Some supporters believe that her subsequent sacrifices and silent obedience make a strong argument for her redemption. According to a source close to the set, Sheila has been going to private therapy sessions to work through her difficult history and demonstrate her ability to change. Her developing character gains curiosity from this detail, even though it isn't proven on screen. Would all of these things work together to change the tide and persuade even her most ardent detractors to give her a chance? Reconciliation within the family, the unthinkable twist. A startling prospect rises from the ashes of this catastrophe as the hospital monitors beep and the injured get better. Would Sheila really be accepted into the inner circle of Steffy, Finn, and the rest of the Forrester clan? Considering their past, that sounds like pure fantasy. After all, in a terrifying act of violence, she will one-shot Steffy and Finn, leaving them for dead. However, the notion is not as unrealistic as it first appeared because of her previous bravery at the beach home and her ongoing attempts to keep their family safe. What else can gain goodwill if stopping a shooting doesn't? As they say, the numbers are beginning to work in Sheila's favor. What repercussions might such a reconciliation have? Imagine Sheila, a former Priya, sitting at the table awkwardly exchanging pleasantries with Eric and Rich during holiday get-togethers at the Forrester estate, or imagine Finn's children, who are first cautious, gradually coming to like their grandma during brief, supervised visits that are laced with tentative humor. This bath would undoubtedly experience stress, have to be rebuilt piece by piece, and reawaken past scars at every opportunity. However, B&B has never shied away from daring storytelling, and soap operas live on the unthinkable becoming true. However, a piece of the script that was leaked and confirmed even suggests that Steffy might write Sheila a passionate letter of gratitude for her bravery indeed, which could be the first step toward healing. What do you believe Sheila's future holds? Uncertainty surrounds Steffy and Finn. Will Sheila eventually gain a spot in the family she has long desired, bringing about this unthinkable turn of events? Or will appreciation be limited to sending a bouquet of flowers and a kind message of thanks to Al Giardino, where Sheila frequently holds court? The argument among fans is intensifying. Some are hoping for a redemption story that might change Sheila's legacy, while others are still dubious of her intentions, since they think there may be a secret goal behind her newfound compassion. The beach house carnage has undoubtedly altered the rules of the game, paving the way for poignant confrontations and surprising coalitions. We would want to speak with you. After everything they've been through together, do you think Steffy could ever welcome Sheila into her life? Or should the foresters remain at a distance, merely thanking her for what she had done?